Coffee time. Today, the focus is making a blend, and I have two coffees that they are the candidates to make the blend. I just don't know how much of each one I should use. So I brewed them both, same power, same everything. And I guess the point is I'll blend them together. What ratio is the best? And can you even reliably do it this way and then just make the same ratio out of the beans and then brew it that way? It seems to me the answer must be yes, but I'm not sure yet. So, well, it's uncharted territory. This coffee is Robusta. It comes from India, and I would say that the flavor is like the kind of coffee that you would get if you went to a mechanic shop. Like, not recently, but in the old days, when coffee in mechanic shops wasn't necessarily very good. It's coffee, and there's nothing that's wrong with it. It is coffee, but at the same time, it smells like dust and kerosene and gasoline and tools and oil and grime, and it's gray, and there's a bunch of people wearing like blue coveralls covered in oil, and they're drinking the same coffee, and you're just sitting in the waiting room, and things are fine. Everything's gonna be fine. It's just, they said half an hour, but it's been 3 hours. It's one of those kind of flavors, you could say. And then the Mexican coffee, it's a single origin. It's one that I really like to drink by itself because it's so distinct. It's coming from Chiapas in the south of Mexico. Smells like a Canadian quesadilla, Canadian-made quesadilla. What does that mean? It means I don't really know necessarily what a real quesadilla tastes like. I've had them a few times, I guess, in authentic establishments, and they have been good, but quesadilla to me means that you buy like mass-produced tortilla wraps, and you get like marbled cheese, which is cheddar and mozzarella, and you buy chicken and bell peppers. Maybe other stuff's optional, but the bell peppers, especially yellow bell peppers, you stir fry all that stuff together, you add the cheese, you put it in the tortilla. You could bake it, I guess, if you want to, but I don't think you really need to. So that is, for me, what that smells like. It's like yellow bell pepper, mechanic shop. Why would I choose to blend these two? Well, they're the only two that I have currently that make any sense to blend. I expect I can accomplish my goal, and the goal here is make a coffee that can be sold for a very low price, is one. Give a lot of caffeine, is two. Not suck, is three. Yeah, that's more or less the goal, those three things. Because I had a customer who came here recently, and well, she's a coffee lover, and she didn't have coffee that day. It was just way too hot in here. But she said that, first thing in the morning, I don't need to have a geisha, for example, that has, 14 different flavors you could sit for an hour and pick out. It's not what I want out of my morning coffee. I want my morning coffee to be powerful and do its job, and not be $14 for a pot as well. And I thought, well, I'm not open really in the morning, like really early, but if I put more time into this place, where would I put it? Would I put it in the afternoon? Would I put it in the morning? Honestly, that's hard to say right now. Let's leave it at that. Let's start to mix. It's gonna be kind of a long video, frankly, because I think this process is not easy. I'll just record it and try to keep it semi-interesting in the event that you want to see kind of what's going on. So you tear a scale. We're 7 minutes into doing nothing apparently, but okay. So let's go 15.4 grams and 15.4 grams. 1-to-1 ratio, okay? Robusta X Chiapas. 1-to-1. Smells good. It smells fine. It smells like coffee. I think that you don't get any of the major aroma points from either of them. Though I think it smells more gray and blue collary than is the goal. Tastes rich, grabs the tongue, still holds its holding the tongue. Yeah. It's a pretty lucky first attempt. Still holding the tongue. It's got a lot of lingering bitterness. Very good. So my note says 1-to-1 ratio. It's very good. Long finish, grippy, bitter, maybe a little bit too blue collary. Let's do 2-to-1. So 20. 20 of Chiapas and 10. Should also say that the Indian coffee here is the Robusta is a dark roast, and then this Mexican coffee is medium as well. I've actually tried this blend before. I had it as a kind of an espresso blend that I did here, but both were roasted dark, and I didn't like it really. I didn't make it for myself. Which I think is the fault. I think when you make something, anything, you need to be the one who likes it. You can't just make something that you don't like for the sake of other people. I think there's no heart in that. It doesn't work. This has like substantially less bitterness and a lot more focused flavor that kind of immediately comes. The other one is very like the emphasis is on the finish, and this one the emphasis is on the consumption. This would be a compromise for me to choose to drink this over the kind of coffee that I prefer, but I wouldn't be disappointed to drink this one. I prefer the 2 parts Mexico to 1 part India. This is good coffee for me, but I don't think it's really what I'm trying to do necessarily. I think it needs to have a little bit more finish, and I can get that clearly because it showed me that at 1:1 the finish is much more powerful. So something like, just try it out. 1.5 to 1. Just dialing back on the Mexican coffee. Let's go here. Yeah, 30 and 20. I thought that with the 1 to 2, you couldn't smell the negative aspect of the Robusta, the mechanic shop, at all. But I think I can smell it in this. You can definitely taste it. But that's, yeah, more or less accomplishes the goal of what I wanted. It's less about the consumption. It's more about the finish, but it's not like a dramatic change. It's shifted in the same direction, but an issue that I have doing coffee this way and tea this way, and it's the best to do it in the liquid. But unless you serve this liquid, what are you even doing? And I wouldn't make coffee this way by making different pots and then blending them for the customer. I would love to, but I just don't have the means to do that right now. So that being said, finding the ratio where, let's say, you mix a bowl of beans and 1.7 to 1, because that's what you found was the best. Well, every time you make a batch of coffee, you're not going to get that magic ratio. You're going to get hopefully close, but sometimes not even. So hard to say how accurate that would be to blend it as a pot of coffee. So the solution then is to package let's say that you need to use 30 grams of coffee in total to make a pot of coffee. Then you would blend the ratio of the beans already, like weighing out the beans how you'd want them and portioning them to be one pot of coffee. Is you just empty this bin rather than have a big bin of them. If that makes sense. I think it does. Going in the right direction. Now it tastes like a good gas station coffee. The issue is saying that, I guess I want to have a gas station coffee next to me to compare it. I remember a big problem that I normally have with having coffee in places like that, knowing kind of now what real coffee tastes like, is that everyone makes it way too weak. These coffees, for the record, they're made at a strength of 1:16. That seems to be what most people would like that. They would enjoy it. They would say it's acceptable. The range of preference for most people seems to be between 1-15 for people who like their coffee to be on the strong side, and then 1-17 for people who like their coffee to be on the weak side. So this is just happily in the middle. Doing this same test again, but keeping it so that keeping the ratio but raising the strength of both coffees, that could solve the problem, and I think that's what I'll do next. To account for wiggle room in brewing and things like that, I think do I do it? I've got the coffee to do it. We're gonna do it. 48 grams of that and 30 grams of this. Oh boy, am I so excited to drink this coffee. It's perfect. But perfect is not usually good. Wow, that doesn't make sense at all, does it? I think that perfect is boring because your brain is just, yeah, this is good. I don't like that. I like to be able to analyze something, and there's nothing to analyze here. Balance is very good. The other one, they're not so balanced, so you can actually kind of, in a way, complain about them. And by complaining about them, while that might be a negative thing, at least you're thinking about them. This one, you drink it and you're not thinking about anything. It's coffee. So it's too balanced. Perfect. Not ideal. I think the same is with tea. Over the years, I've come to admit that having some faults in tea seems to go a long way for the enjoyment of it. because in doing testing like this, you can find what you would consider like flawless. It just takes time. Well, all the time it takes time, unless you get very lucky. But flawless tea, while it might be impressive that you can say, like, try to criticize this tea, you can't. If you have it, like, even one thing to criticize seems to be like a better memory, I think. So I know how to make all of the tea that I have here perfectly, but I guess I'd say that I try to show people almost perfect usually instead of perfect. Of course, the video would cut out because I have no space left for videos on my phone because I never delete anything. Well, where we ended up was that 1 gram of the Robusta to 1.7 grams of the Arabica from Mexico turned out to be the best. But the coffee is still a little bit too weak. But changing the ratio won't solve that. It's just going to cause new problems. So what we would do instead is just make it more potent. So tomorrow we'll try, let's say, 1 to 15 and 1 to 14, and we'll see if there's any improvements and kind of go from there. That's essentially what I do every day, is bullshit like this, and so that you can have a really good coffee. And I hope that you will try it. Thank you.